What's up guys, I'm Coach Bret Contreras and this video is going to teach you how to maximize your squat depth. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is your torso lean. Now at any given hip joint angle, the more upright you are, the deeper you're going to be. So see here, you got a big forward lean. I'm not changing the hip angle, but the more upright I am, see how I end up going below parallel? You don't change the hip angle, you just change whether the femur gets below parallel or not just by changing the angle of the torso. So if you have trouble hitting squat depth, it's your best interest to be upright. Everyone has unique skeletal anatomy at their hips and at their ankles. So some people have good ankle dorsiflexion mobility, good hip mobility, other people not so much, and there's only so much you can do to improve it. So the first thing we want to do is increase our hip flexion mobility. In order to squat deep, you got to sink the hips deep. There are a lot of good hip mobility drills, and I encourage you to type in hip flexion mobility drills onto YouTube. You'll get a lot of different ideas. Here are some of them. Next up, we want to also improve our ankle dorsiflexion mobility. To squat deep, your knees will travel out far because you're going to be upright. So you need a lot of ankle dorsiflexion range of motion. So there are a lot of different drills you can do here as well. Any squat variation that has a load out in front is going to help you get deeper just because it helps you maintain a more upright torso position. So instead of doing back squats, if you perform front squats, and you can do this clean grip or crossed arm grip, you're going to stay more upright here. Therefore you get deeper. Goblet squats, you're going to stay more upright here. So goblet squats and front squats are very good alternatives if you're trying to get deeper in a squat. Most people are around 10% stronger using the low bar back squat position compared to high bar. The high bar position does help you stay more upright and therefore helps you go deeper. And here's the reason why. When you do low bar, see, you're going to lean a little bit more. So say this is as deep as my hips will go, I'm barely at a parallel. If I go high bar and I end up staying more upright, now, I didn't change my hip angle, but I got a couple inches deeper. So choose high bar over low bar. Elevating your heels is a good strategy to get deeper in the squat because elevating the heels starts you off in a little bit of plantar flexion, and therefore when you go deep, you're not using all of your ankle dorsiflexion range of motion. You're more upright and hit better squat depth. So squat shoes are a good alternative because they have elevated heels on them, okay? That's one option. Also, you can use a wedge, like a yoga wedge, or just elevate your heels onto 5 or 10 pound plates. This is an immediate solution for a lot of people. It's when they elevate their heels, all of a sudden, you can stay so much more upright. See that? And therefore you can get really deep, even though my hip angle is not so severe. See that? I'm very upright, I'm very deep, I'm well below parallel, but I don't have a crazy hip angle here. So everyone has a unique setup that maximizes their squat depth. In general, you want to toy around with your stance width, your level of foot flare, and also how far you push your knees out or your level of hip abduction. Because some people squat deepest with a narrow stance with feet pointed straight ahead, some people with a wide stance, some people wide stance flared out, and everywhere in between. You need to toy around with all the different variations in order to feel what does give you the deepest depth. You can also get in a quadruped position like this and go narrower, sink back, a little bit wider, sink back, try it up, knees out more, sink back. But in general, you can also learn that from a standing position. For example, if I go wide like this is as deep as I can get right here, just barely below parallel. But if I go medium stance, feet flared, see how much deeper I can get? If I keep my feet straight, I cannot get nearly as deep. So take the time to figure out your optimal stance width, foot flare, and hip abduction. How can glute activation help improve your squat depth? Well, when the glutes contract, it actually exerts a rearward pull on the head of the femur, so it pulls rearward in the acetabulum, and then you don't have the contact up here in the front, so that may help you get a little bit deeper in the squat. There are plenty of awesome glute activation drills. You can experiment to figure out your favorite ones. Now, anytime you're more upright, you're going to feel the quads working a little harder. So to squat upright, you need strong quads. Well, what things can you do to strengthen the quads? Of course, front squats, high bar squats, goblet squats, but also things like leg extension, leg press, Bulgarian split squats. All of these things can help transfer to the squat. So those were 8 different tips to help you improve your squat depth. Some of those will work for you, others won't. I encourage you to experiment with all of them and then determine which ones work best for you. Last, I want to touch on why you would want to improve your squat depth. It's mainly for powerlifting. In powerlifting, you have to descend below parallel, so the hip crease has to descend below the knee joint. And so if you're a powerlifter and it's really tough for you to hit depth, then these strategies are going to be great for you. What if you're just training for physique/aesthetics? Well, in that case, I implore you to not be so obsessed with squat depth, and here's why. Number one, squatting deep can be problematic for some people. Some people get increased pressure on the knees when they go deep, and some people get increased stress on the low back, especially people who butt wink or round their lower backs excessively. So if you're in that category, don't obsess about hitting depth or getting at rock bottom squats. It is true that a larger range of motion is superior for muscle hypertrophy. However, it's not going to make the biggest difference whether you squat just above parallel or just below parallel. You can build a fine physique squatting a little bit above parallel or just too parallel and never going rock bottom or ass to grass. And this is true with the quadriceps, it's true with the glutes. You need to figure out your ideal stance and setup along with your optimal variations that allow you to squat week in and week out, pain and injury free. I'm Coach Bret Contreras. Thank you for watching.